I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our webinar on Growing What Works, Sharing Evidence-Based Practices for Latino Student Success. My name is Andres Quintanilla, Program Manager for Examples of Excelencia here at Excelencia in Education. Before we get started with our presentation, just want to share some quick programming notes. We will have an opportunity to open up the webinar for questions from the audience. So if you have any questions at any point during the webinar, please use the GoToWebinar control panel on your right. There should be a questions field. In that field, you can enter in any question, again, during any time during the webinar. And we'll be able to address those towards the end of our presentation. So we'll try to do our best to address as many questions as possible, but if we're not able to get to your question, we'll reach out to you individually. Earlier today, you should have received a webinar reminder. In it was the contact information for Hugo Nahara. He's our constituency engagement manager, and he's going to act as our technical assistance point person. So if you have any issues viewing the webinar or anything else, he would be the person to reach out to. I've also asked Hugo to share his contact information in the chat section. So again, in the control panel, there's a chat option where you'll be able to see Hugo's contact information. But I think that's pretty much it for that programming aspect. We'll go ahead and get started with the actual presentation. So joining me today is Deborah Santiago, COO and VP for Policy for Excellence in Education, Stella Torres, Director of the Achieving a College Education or ACE program at Maricopa Community Colleges, and Karen Hilker-Balkason. She's the Executive Director of College Career Pathways and the Pathway to the Baccalaureate at Northern Virginia Community College. So for today's agenda, we'll first discuss Excellence's efforts to share evidence-based practices and why we help grow what works for Latino student success in higher education. Then we'll talk a little bit about the importance of sharing these practices, and we'll also hear from our two trendsetters in higher education about their programs, their practices, how they've shared those practices with others, and how they've been able to scale their efforts to serve more students through their community. So I'll turn it over now to Deborah Santiago.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us and taking a little bit of your time to learn a little bit about examples of Excelencia, but also the opportunities to learn from and share what's working for Latino student success. I wanted to kick off by getting to a basic question, which is why examples of Excelencia? And for those of you that don't know, Excelencia in Education's mission is to accelerate Latino student success in higher education. That's more than just increasing. And our view is that examples of Excelencia is absolutely critical for us to accelerate Latino student success and help close the equity gaps in educational achievement that we see. And for us, this is not to the exclusion of any other student, but while others are increasing, we want to make sure that Latinos are accelerating to close those gaps. And for us, it's really about action. What can we concretely do to make sure that we are making a difference for these students? Are we being intentionally inclusive in making sure that Latinos are being served in a way that's helping them succeed? For us to accelerate, we really want to make sure our platform as a national organization is to make sure that others are aware of evidence-based programs that are serving Latinos amongst all, that they've got data that prove it, that there's potential for it to be replicable and scalable. We want to make sure that we're increasing the attention and interest at the national level in serving Latinos as a young, fast-growing population, but use it as an opportunity to make sure that we're serving all of our students better. We want to make sure that public policy sees and understands what is actually working and maybe inform policy to serve students at a bigger scale. We want to make sure that funders, foundations, and others that are looking to invest in what's working are aware of the kind of strategies and efforts that are intentionally including Latinos. We do work with a lot of foundations who tell us they want to see not just what's replicable and what's scalable, what's working, but they also want to see what's sustainable, and that they want to invest in those kinds of efforts and strategies. So we try to serve as a resource to bring attention so those foundations can find programs that are making a difference. And then I guess not the last piece, but certainly probably the most significant is building a network of those who are working action-oriented and committed to including Latinos, and build a national network that's focused on this common cause of increasing Latino student success. And the examples of excellence is a way to recognize and celebrate their contributions, but also the opportunity for them to learn for each other. A critical way for us to do that is the Growing Works database. This is a free online database that Excelencia has created. We have a little over 150 programs that over the last 12 years of examples of Excelencia, we've been able to capture, and we try to keep it as up to date as possible so that those who are encountering a new growth of Latinos or an influx of Latino students or are looking to expand their efforts to serve Latinos can find a resource and find practitioners and practices that are evidence-based in serving Latino students. And for us, this is a resource that helps continue the dialogue and the conversation, but also helps inform the kind of action that's needed to make sure we're serving our Latino students better.
Great, thanks so much, Deborah. So just going back, examples of excellence started, as Deborah was saying, in 2005. We've been doing this for over 12 years now, and it's really our way to promote and recognize programs that have proven successful in serving Latino students. And since 2005, we've received over 1,500 nominations from 33 states, DC and Puerto Rico, and hopefully, and I look forward to receiving nominations from all 50 states across the country. We recognize programs in 4 categories at the associate, baccalaureate, and graduate levels. We also recognize community-based organizations for their efforts. Well, we do recognize a number of programs as finalists. There are only 4 examples of Excelencia, 1 in each category, but any one of our finalists could easily be an example. It just really depends on the year and the selection committee. So I'll actually go over our selection process really quickly. It's a 3-step process. We start with the nomination process, and I'd actually encourage everyone attending today to please visit our website, www.excelencia.org/2017. And if you know of a program that's doing great work for Latino students, helping them complete, transfer, access, get to college and all those things, I'd really encourage you to go. Let us know about them so that we can reach out and hear about their success story. It's pretty simple. Just go to our website, fill out an online form, share your contact information, and share the information of the program. We reach out. The deadline for nominations is March 7th. After we've received all nominations, we reach out to programs and ask for them to submit a profile. We ask nominated programs to answer a set of questions about the program, their efforts, and evidence showing that their practices have helped Latino students succeed in college. We also provide programs with a completion guide that covers most of our frequently asked questions and also some tips on what excellence is looking for when we're reviewing these submissions for examples of Excelencia. Once profile submissions close, and that's April 12th, Excelencia staff will review every profile and select a set of finalists, a set of finalists in each of the 4 categories. We forward this list of finalists to an external selection committee, and that's made up of different higher education professionals and funders that are interested in practices that serve Latinos. And the committee then selects 1 example in each category. As I said, there is technically a quote-unquote winner, the example in each category, but we try to do our best to bring attention to all finalists and all the programs that we've recognized. And again, our call for nominations is open now. You're free to go and nominate a program in one of the 4 categories, and the nomination submissions are due by March 7th. Nominated programs have until April 12th to submit their profile submissions. And we announced hopefully we'll be able to announce our finalists by August, and October 5th is our Celebración de Excelencia, where we recognize all our finalists and announce the 4 examples of Excelencia. So real quickly about what the examples and the finalists receive. All programs selected as finalists will be recognized at Celebración Excellence on October 5th. They'll also be included in our Growing What Works database, as well as our annual What Works for Latino Student Success compendium. And they're also offered complimentary one-year enrollment into Excellency in Action. And that's our network that strives to promote Latino student success by leveraging resources and expertise and amplifying efforts on a national level. That's offered to all finalists, and in addition to this, the 4 programs selected as examples receive a small financial contribution, an award and recognition at Celebración de Excelencia, and they also participate in a plenary session at our Accelerating Latino Student Success Institute on October 6th, so the day after Celebración. And there they'll have the opportunity to discuss their program and their efforts in their communities. So again, one of the ways that we're trying to promote programs that are recognized as finalists or examples or any other programs that are doing good work for Latino students is through our Growing What Works database. In fact, last year we had so many great programs submitting for examples that outside of the 20 programs added through the recognition process, we added about a dozen or so additional programs to the database just to highlight their efforts for what they're doing in the communities. And as you can see right here is a screenshot of our Growing What Works database. If you go to our website, you'll be able to search for programs by academic level, state, and whether or not the program is at an HSI or Hispanic serving institution. And that's federally defined as an accredited degree-granting public or private nonprofit institution of higher education with 25% or more total undergraduate Hispanic full-time enrollment. So at least 25% of their full-time, first-time freshmen identify as Hispanic or Latino. We've also tagged programs by issue area and program focus, and this is our way of sort of helping describe what these programs are doing. The issue areas, there's 5 of them. It's access, retention, transfer, student services, or academic program. And so those are just the 5 ways that we, on the surface, try to describe them. So whether or not they're focused on getting more students, their access, or they're focused on getting students from one institution, normally a community college, to a 4-year granting institution, so that would be considered a transfer program. This past year, an additional sort of way to describe these programs is through program focus, and what we've actually done is come up with a list of 25 or so different ways to describe a program. This helps us identify the practices offered by the program, such as college prep, scholarships, or STEM programs. So if anyone, whenever you have the opportunity, please feel free to go through our database, search for different types of programs, and discover the different practices that are being done in different parts of the country. And so when we talk about effective and evidence-based practices for Latinos, we're talking about efforts that share certain characteristics. When we receive profiles for examples of excelencia, programs that stand out are those that see a need in their community and take this as an opportunity to serve their students. And these programs also intentionally serve Latinos and appreciate the cultural and social backgrounds that are unique to their students. They also base their program around practices that have been proven effective for other students. And to ensure that those practices are working, it's important for programs to track the success of their students to see if they're meeting program objectives. So by tracking students through completion, programs are able to better understand what works for their students, and they're also able to compare the success of their students to those of their peers and others in the institution or community not served by the program. So while we know of many practices that are working for Latinos, it's important to keep track of what does and does not work for a specific set of students. This allows programs to build on the success and better serve the students within their program or institution. And again, we just want to sort of reiterate this message of why it's important to share these practices. We want to bring attention to, we want to inform, and we want to help replicate and scale. So by sharing these practices, we're helping to bring attention to these effective efforts, and we help inform current efforts and build on their success. I hope that this will help replicate and scale programs to serve more students. So by sharing what works for Latinos, it's pretty clear that there should be no excuses not to serve Latinos at all. Right, and so that's sort of the things that we look for in examples of excellence and the way that we're sharing these evidence and effective these evidence-based practices that are effective for serving Latino students. And now we'd like to hear from two programs that have been serving students within their community. First, we'll hear from Karen Hilker-Balkasoon. She's the director of the Pathway to the Baccalaureate program at Northern Virginia Community College. We originally recognized this program back in 2009 as a finalist. Since then, they were able to expand and grow, and last year were selected as the 2016 Associate Level Example of Excelencia. Then we'll hear from Stella Torres. She's the director of the Achieving a College Education programs for all of the Maricopa community colleges. This program was one of the first programs Excelencia ever recognized back in 2006, and they continue to serve students throughout Maricopa County in Arizona. Both institutions are also part of our e-Action Network, which is the sort of national network that we had mentioned earlier. So for now, I will turn it over to Karen so she can discuss a little bit about the Pathway to the Baccalaureate program. Karen?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here and just take a few minutes to share some information about our Pathway to the Baccalaureate program and how our engagement with the Excelencia in Education Foundation has created some amazing opportunities for us to more effectively engage with regional and national partners, leading to opportunities for us to enhance, replicate, and sustain our efforts. Next slide. Thank you. I'll start with some general background information about our program. Pathway to the Baccalaureate is a collective impact partnership of local K-12 school systems, Northern Virginia Community College, or NOVA, and George Mason University, who joined forces with a common vision to increase the numbers of students with post-secondary access barriers to succeed through community college to the completion of a baccalaureate degree. The program was the brainchild of NOVA's past president, Dr. Robert Templin, and it was collaboratively developed with our K-16 partners and was launched, just like Examples of Excelencia, back in 2005. We started that year with 340 participants. As you can see, we've grown today to serve more than 10,000 students, starting in high school, all the way through the final year of their baccalaureate education program, and we also have a small fellowship program supporting graduate students as well. In 2009, we realized that we needed to do more than just focus on post-secondary attainment, and we adopted concurrently a career pathways framework and broadened our outcomes to include that career access and attainment focus. And as Andres mentioned, we have had the honor of being recognized twice by the Excelencia in Education Foundation, in 2009 as a finalist at the associate level, and then again last fall as the 2016 Example of Excelencia at the associate level. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, Pathway to the Baccalaureate operates using a collective impact model. And what that means is that the program partners, who are comprised of our 9 regional school systems, Northern Virginia Community College and George Mason University, we share funding, we share data and metrics and outcomes toward the support of this program. The governance of the program is through an executive steering committee with full representation, voting representation from all the program partners. All decisions are made by committee and then are executed by a program director, and that's me, through our team and out into the community. Our community college serves as both the fiscal and the administrative agent for the program that oversees the day-to-day operations across more than 60 sites in the Northern Virginia region that run from K-12, again, community college, and four-year university. The program model requires close collaboration among the participating institutions to align services and supports to create seamless transitions from high school to community college, from community college to transfer to a four-year institution. The goal is to reduce service gaps where many students falter, or even worse, they give up entirely. We provide both early and ongoing intervention beginning in the senior year of high school through the community college, through George Mason, using what we call an intrusive case management model Not everyone likes that word intrusive, but we believe strongly that intrusive is not a bad word. For us, it's a good word. We have been known to wait outside of students' classrooms for them, and if they're not responding to emails and phone calls. In addition to those core academic, career, and financial counseling services that we provide, we focus heavily on building social trust and social capital by building strong relationships between the student and his or her advisor through mandatory engagement in campus life and service learning, and by enhancing both peer and family supports to improve retention and success. We've recently looked at our model and tried to implement dual generational programming in order to really strengthen the role of the family in the student's success. We also engage the broader community of nonprofit, interfaith, and faith-based organizations who work with our students and their families. So we try to take as broad of an approach as possible to engage and support our students. And while our focus is to broadly identify students with barriers, we have been very successful in engaging our Latino community. And when we did our demographic survey this year, we actually saw a 10% increase. Now 55% of our participants self-identify as Latinos. The program has also demonstrated some very strong outcomes over the last 12 years, including transition to college, with 87% of participants who successfully enrolled in post-secondary education within 1 year of their high school graduation. Our first to second semester retention rate is currently averaging 90%. Our annual retention rate is 83%. But our most notable metrics are in post-secondary completion. In 2014-15, our participants represented approximately 7% of NOVA's student population, but were 14% of the credentials that were earned at the institution. So our students are twice as likely to complete a credential as the general population at the college. And of our participants who transferred and continued in the pathway program at George Mason University, over 80% had successfully completed their bachelor's degrees within 3 years of matriculation. Next slide, please. Excellencia in education has been a huge benefit to our program. After the first recognition as a finalist in 2009, we were added to the growing What Works database, and almost immediately we started to receive phone and email inquiries from other institutions who were interested in our work, as well as contacts from journalists who showcased our work in several national publications. We've also had some wonderful opportunities to provide technical assistance and mentoring of institutions who are seeking to replicate either some of our interventions or our full program model. And some of those organizations that we've connected to through our profile on the database, such as the Appalachian College Association, have taken some of our programming and they have focused on targeted interventions to Latino students with wonderful results. Our largest replication effort to date is a full-scale replication where we provided almost 2 years of technical assistance to Montgomery County, Maryland Public Schools, Montgomery College, and the universities at Shady Grove through their ACEs program. And that program is now being replicated in other Maryland counties, and we are providing technical assistance to those counties as well. So in closing, just want to thank the Excellencia in Education Foundation for creating so many wonderful opportunities over the years for us to showcase our efforts. I strongly encourage other organizations who are participating today to both apply for the examples of Excellencia, and for those who have been recognized to stay engaged and keep your database entry up to date. It certainly worked for us. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Karen. And yes, if your program is in the database, please provide us with updates. I know that some people I reach out to and things get pretty busy in the office and all that, but if you can, please try to update your profiles for the database. Our reason for asking for those updates is to show that your program is still doing great work for your students and how you're still continuing to evolve. So thanks again, Karen. Now we'll turn to Stella Torres. She's the Director of the Achieving in College Education, or ACE programs, not related to the ACEs program in Montgomery County, Maryland. But I'll turn this over to Stella. Stella?
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Yes, we are the original ACE program. We are 30 years old, so hopefully that is our title. We are located in Phoenix, Arizona. We have 10 community colleges that you see listed throughout Maricopa County. And ACE has 11 programs throughout the 10 colleges. And we serve over 2,000 students annually in the high school phase. And we also have in those programs, we have an adult ACE that started in 2005 that works with adults who need their GED and then start taking the college courses like our high school program. ACE is also 58% Latino students right now currently. Next slide. Here you see our pathway, how we do ACE. And ACE is a concurrent early college program with 3 primary goals that I'll discuss. Please look at the pathway. We recruit when they're sophomores in high school, and then they come in through summer, June, and Saturdays through the fall and spring semester through their junior and senior year. We involve the parents at this point in the high school. We have a mandatory orientation for both student and parents. And when we do the 2 years of ACE, we hope that they come to a Maricopa Community College or transfer to a university. If they stay with us through community college to get their certificates or associate's degree, we then help them to get to our state universities or private colleges that they want to go. Our 3 goals are, number 1, is to increase the number of at-risk students graduating from high school. And we serve 96 high schools. We are working with 96 high schools in Maricopa County. The program, as I mentioned, is concurrent, and it is scholarship-based. In the first goal, over the past 5 years, we have an average of 88 of our ACE students graduated from high school on time or earlier. 84% of our students were retained in ACE through those high school years. ACE high school students have earned 22 to 23 college credits. We pay for 24 college credits during that high school phase, so we're almost tipping the exact amount of what we're promising. The adult ACE program completers during the past 5 years, they earn about 19 credits of the 24 that we offer. Our second goal is to increase the number of students continuing on with college after completing the high school ACE program. And of the most recent cohort that we have data, 72% of the ACE completers continue on to college, including the adult ACE program is in that number. Also, the most recent cohort, 52% continued on to our community colleges. And for 2015-16 academic year, ACE students had an average college GPA of 3.0. The scholarships that I've mentioned come from the majority from Maricopa District. It is a budget line item, and also from grants and from private donors. Our third goal is to increase the number of students earning a college degree or certificate. And as of 2015, and we were started the data here in the state of Arizona since 1996, 81% of our ACE alumni have gone on to college. 56% of the same group have completed a degree, certificate, or are still enrolled in post-secondary colleges. Unfortunately, we don't have the out-of-state numbers or private sector colleges numbers for that. So we have something like 3,472 students have earned degrees for a total of over 6,000 degrees. And we have anywhere from certificates, we have about 1,150 associates, 1,700 bachelors, 143 masters, 12 professionals, and 4 doctorates currently from the last data that we did recently this year. The next slide, please. Some of our practices that we use are these 9 essentials that are very important to the program from the beginning that we did it. You notice the word at-risk students. I know some people don't like that. They're now considered disconnected, but that's the best way to describe first-generation students, underrepresented students. Well, the other important thing is the family involvement that I've mentioned. We have high academic standards. These are students taking college classes that are not dual enrollment. They're not taught at the high schools. They're taught at the campuses. And we overlap the transition points, and the staff also is intrusive and works with the students to make sure that they're on target, that they're attending classes, that they're attending the mandatory workshops on financial aid, tutoring, anything that we can offer them to help them complete college. These elements, as I mentioned, are very important, and the family involvement, getting to know those parents or their guardians or their brother and sister, somebody who supports the student to get to college and to finish college is what's important. The next slide, please. Some of the impact after winning the Excelencia in 2006 is these are some of the institutions and programs that reached out to us to either partner or to give us funding. We were also able to get, with the help of Congressman Ed Pastor, a National Nuclear Security Administration, NASA grant that was $4.2 million, and we were able to concentrate on STEM for our students, and we, by the end of the 8 years, we had like 327 degrees in STEM, and we offered university trips throughout the state, and they were focused on STEM careers. We do a national conference at Maricopa. We are still funding that STEM conference. Also, we sent students to professional STEM conferences like SHIP and the National Society of Black Engineers, ACES, the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. We had Lumina Grant do a longitudinal assessment of ACE, and the study reinforced the concept that ACE programs, or this type, needs to concentrate its resources on this at-risk or disconnected youth. We also work with the Helios grant here in Arizona, and they helped us with staffing to increase our staffing for retention and research and individual college staffing. They also helped us with a planning project for our Junior ACE program, and we have found out that Junior ACE for middle school students also works, and they get pipelined into our high school ACE. Unfortunately, we can only do that when we have grant funding. So Junior ACE, there's 2 programs still in existence, but we've been as big as 5 programs when we have added funding, because working with middle school is a little bit more expensive than working with high school students coming to college. With what Excelencia, you'll see the partnerships that we got to work with, and replication. We've started out close to 30 years ago with only 2 colleges having an ACE, and now we have 10, including, we are in all 10 colleges, and we have the, including the adult ACE and the junior ACE. We know that it was duplicated in Pima Community College, and then through the 8 years of working with the NASA people, we did annual presentations to other universities and colleges annually, and we talked about our ACE STEM outreach that we did. Some of the benefits in working with Excelencia is we got more funding for operational costs, internships, and more scholarships for students. The other thing that Excelencia invited me to sit on a panel when they did their Walmart grants called Growing What Works, and I was fortunate to be a reviewer of many of the excellent programs that since then probably have won these rewards. And that also, people called me and contacted me and asked me for more information after the awards and to talk about ACE. The impact that it's given us, I think, is we are institutionalized across the district. We the district does give the scholarships called Maricopa Grants, and we also get our scholarships from private donors and grants. And I feel that at that point when we won the award, we were hitting our 20th year, and I feel that it helped with the longevity of the program, which is entering its 30th year. Also, I've had the pleasure of working with the executive director, Sarita Brown, and whenever I'm at Latino conferences and she happens to be the keynoter, she makes a point of pointing out the ACE program in Maricopa and the success that we're doing. I think that the other thing that we also have is we now have second generation students. We have the sons and daughters of our earlier cohorts coming into the program, so we really are a family college going program for our community. And of the 58% Latino students in the program, 79% of them have gone on to college. Next slide. I think that's it.
Thanks so much, Stella. It's really impactful to hear that, though, that you're not only serving students, but you're serving families as well. So it's great to hear the work that you're doing in Maricopa, and thank you for that. Before we open up the webinar for questions, just want to go over some quick points that we discussed today. As you just heard, we heard from two great programs that have used partnerships to replicate their efforts, and these and other effective programs use practices that are backed by research, and they ensure that students see continued success by tracking students through program objectives and making sure that students are on track. By sharing practices like Pathway to the Baccalaureate and the ACE program, Excelencia hopes to continue to bring attention to what works for Latinos through our examples of excellence recognition and our ever-expanding Growing Works database. You just heard Stella say she served on a panel for us, and that was sort of when this idea of the Growing Works database first started. And just to help us build through this database, please, I encourage everyone to nominate programs for examples of Excelencia and help us identify programs that work for Latinos in higher ed. Again, you can just visit our website at excelencia.org/2017, and you'll be able to submit a nomination there. So we'll open up the webinar for questions. I have Karen and Stella's email addresses on the screen in case anyone's interested in reaching out to them directly. But I'll turn to Hugo, see if he has any questions for either Karen or Stella.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, Andres. The first question we have is for Karen. Karen, what did the Virginia program do differently the first time that they were nominated, and that they did not? What was changed between the program the first time it was nominated as a finalist and then when it actually became recognized as an example? What were some of the efforts that were undertaken to make sure that you were able to reach that place?
I think when we first submitted our nomination and were recognized as a finalist, our program was only 4 years old at the time. And so we didn't have the longevity of data. And, I think that Excelencia in Education really prides itself on being a data-driven institution. And while we were starting to see some very promising associate level outcomes, we didn't have the length of time because our pipeline can be 4 years or more to an associate's degree, 7 or more years to a bachelor's degree. So when we reapplied, we had that strong data and we were able to really demonstrate the long-term impact of the work that we were doing, and that we had created the sustainability model through the shared funding and shared support model that we've created with our partners. And I think that, for us, being able to craft our submission a little bit differently to focus on the data, to focus on the sustainability and the evidence of success was what made the difference.
Awesome, thank you. And another question regarding your program, if both the question is if the community college and George Mason are considered HSIs.
Neither of our colleges is officially considered an HSI. However, 1/3 of all Latino students in the Commonwealth of Virginia attend our community college. So We do have a large number of Latino students who are enrolled, but we do not technically, either institution, meet the qualifications as an HSI at this time. We're getting there. We'll maybe in another year or two.
Awesome, thank you. And just the following question from the audience is, can be answered by both of you. What tips can you provide to engage with first-generation bilingual parents who are not considering letting their children, particularly women, go off to college away from home?
I think I can answer a little bit of that. This is Stella Torres. We used to, the first 10 years, we had a lot of the information in Spanish, and we also did the orientations and sessions in Spanish for the parents. And I did have to spend a lot of one-to-one having coffee or iced tea with especially the fathers, that education for the young Latinas or the young Latino males was going to be an empowerment for the family as well as the student. So anything, however you can bring the Spanish-speaking parents onto the campus to see that, where they'll be attending classes, that they're safe environments, and that they are welcome is very important.
Okay, this is Karen. I'll just add on to that. We have definitely focused on trying to, also provide information and programming in Spanish. I think for us, where we really started to see some strong return on investment was when we broadened our partnerships beyond just the public school systems to look at CBOs, to look at interfaith organizations, also partnering with churches. Some of our local Catholic churches are some of our strongest partners, and so we're engaging families where they are and helping to build trust with those families in places where they already feel comfortable and supported, and giving them accurate information, because there is so much inaccurate information that is out there, or misunderstandings that families might have about the cost of college or what resources might be available to help support the cost of college, that being able to reach those families in a variety of settings is what has really helped us to get that message across.
Some of that stuff, this is Stella Torres again, that really works is remember your culture. And one of the things that we also have end of the year celebrations where the families are invited, and something our mothers and fathers, especially our mothers, always taught us is that we always have food and offer it to people as a welcoming and we're glad you're here. So events with the families are very crucial on the campuses.
Awesome, thank you, thank you. And another question from the group, it can go to either Karen or Stella. What tracking mechanisms do you use to follow students at the undergraduate level? Do you do follow-ups every month, once a semester? Do you do one-on-one calls, surveys, just to check on what your benchmarking system that you utilize to track?
Okay, I can tackle that one first. We use a variety of different models. We have a database that we actually start tracking student interactions while they're still in high school, and then that's a homegrown database that we've had developed specifically for our program. And we also very heavily utilize the college's student information system. We use a variety of tracking mechanisms within the student information system, student groups, queries and whatnot to help us to engage in getting the right data. And we partner very closely with our Office of Institutional Research to help us with validating our data and metrics and methodologies. And we have to do that with all of our partners because we share all those outcomes. So a data point from one institution has to be cleared through all of those institutions. We also have our own internal tracking mechanisms for the number of contacts that we have, both looking at individual student contacts, group student contacts, parent contacts, collaborative contacts with community or college offices. For example, to address a student financial aid issue, and then also looking at outreach contacts in the community. So we're using a variety of different systems, and feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like to see a copy of some of the spreadsheets that we use. I'm happy to share those.
We do, this is Stella in Phoenix. We also do the same things that Karen mentioned, except that at each college, each director is tracking their students each semester and how they're doing in class and the case management. And then here at the district office where I'm based, I'm blessed to have a part-time researcher, and we've had this position for 10 years that she works with the IR, district IR, and she tracks each semester through the Student Information System, the SIS. We do institutional data, and we work with the Arizona State Information System called ASSIST, and all our students are grouped through our SIS. And that too, way back 30 years ago, when it was only 2 programs, we were tracking data. And then when we went district-wide in 2002, 2003, data was very crucial. So to getting our funding, the donors, we give reports. We have an annual progress report that we do. And if you go on our website, you'll see the last 5 years of how we do it, and any questions that we can answer about the program. If they're not there, please call us.
Great, thank you. And Stella, you have a question. Now that you're working with second-generation students, how do your services differ from those of their parents?
Well, it is about the same. We're a proven record, but I think that we're, as education gets bigger, we can bring that information to them. And we've always worked with the community network, the community-based organization. So I think that in working with them, they, because their parents have been successful before, that they know that this program works, and it's helped our recruitment by the word of mouth. We're still, unfortunately, turning away about 800 students a year district-wide because we don't have enough scholarships. So it's, and then what we started doing is working with the junior A's with middle school, and we have some students that are graduating with a university degree at age 20. We have about a dozen of those students or more that are doing that because of the classes that they tested into for college, and were able to get them on a pathway, a degree pathway. So that's what's different, is that we're learning more and working more with our internal system of how we can help students get complete. Another thing that we've done with data this year, I mentioned one of the, we have 3 major foundations in Arizona that have helped us with funding, and it is Daugherty Foundation here in Arizona, and also the Virginia Piper Foundation. But the Helios Education is also sponsoring a reverse transcript program, and we were able to get ACE into that pilot program to be a pilot. And our researcher went in and was able to, some of the students that didn't complete degrees, we were able to dig in to the data and find like students that had 60 credits or more. And we've been, in a year, the report came back that we had 74 more graduates by just contacting them that they're ready for a degree or they have one class to go through, and 81 re-enrolled in our system because of those kind of new ideas that Maricopa is going into and is working out with our state universities here too.
Awesome, thank you very much. And the following questions for either of you, or for both, is looking at the program structure. Do you have any specific recommendations on how to do effective college pathway outreach beyond youth, I guess, or traditional age students, and looking more towards adults, those without high school degrees, or as well?
This is Stella. Well, I think that we have the adult age, and it is 10 years old, and it has served over 900 students who needed the GED and then went on to college. They started the classes like the high school, And my director there, and it's based at Rio Salado College, is very informed and could really help other systems that are interested in that.
Yeah, we also have a program that supports non-traditional students, our Career Pathways Initiative at the college, which is our sister program. And it focuses, instead of partnerships at the K-12 level, the partnerships are made with community nonprofit and social service organizations to create pipelines for individuals to come into the college and through the college as well into both credit and workforce programming. So the focus on the baccalaureate isn't the same because we're really focused on having those non-traditional students earn credentials with market value that will prepare them for either transfer or into the world of work. Some lessons learned for that program are, that you do have to really dig down and, get out of your comfort zone. For us, when we first started, we were not used to working as closely with nonprofit organizations, and, we realized that we had to completely, look at how we delivered services, because we delivered services really during a day model, and we didn't have a lot of resources for students in the evening. So we deploy the resources very differently for our adult program. We do a lot of evening work. We do some weekend work. So it does require some consideration in terms of staffing and outreach so that you're effectively connecting with non-traditional students.
The other thing I've learned in close to 30 years with this program is that because it's so intrusive and you have to spend so much time with students, if you're going to work with adults, the same model could work, but you need more funding. I've often thought that we need family specialists. And my other dream has been, if I had scholarship money or funding, to bring in the parents and offer them a program, a model of ACE. That's the unfortunate thing, is that you always have to be looking for funding to try some of these models that we've proven that work. But it takes vision, leadership, and some funding. And I've been blessed here at Maricopa that we get to do a lot of those ideas. But if you want to make an impact, other institutions, I think that you have to go out for grants or extra funding or talk your leadership into your vision.
Awesome, thank you very much. And I guess a similar question from the audience related towards structure and design. And how do you, what size of a cohort do you find most manageable and more effective through your experience, and just based on your program structure and staffing, what cohort size would be best to service your purposes?
This is Karen. When we look at cohort sizes, we actually have different target cohort sizes based on the level that the student is in our program, because we find that our students have a lot more needs when they're first coming in, and we're assessing and trying to identify and support their barriers to higher education. So, even so, because of funding limitations, we really kind of stretch our cohort sizes. We start in the high schools with our counselors supporting 4 high schools that they rotate 1 high school per day per week, and on-campus day with a cohort size of about 320. Once we get to the campuses, where an ideal cohort size would be in that 300 to 350. Currently, our cohorts are a little bit above that, so we're looking at a counselor to student ratio of about 1 to 400 there, and then it increases. One thing that I do think is really a core value of our program is that we're not just here to provide support. We're here to teach the students and their families the skills that they need to be more independent and to navigate higher education and the workforce. So we're very much focused on a fading support model. So we have the net the safety net, and then over time we start to lower that net a little bit, but it's still there, and we're able to intervene quickly if a student runs into a problem or an issue. But the real philosophy of our program is that over time we're measuring student learning outcomes to see what skills are students developing in terms of self-advocacy, in terms of being able to navigate those different resources on the campus so that they can be more effective and be successful with a little bit less support.
This is Stella Torres. We aim to have a director at each college, a director, and one staff person for every 150 students that you bring in. And most programs are on our campuses are about 300 or 400 students. We aim for it, and in 30 years we've been pretty close, but we've also had help from our private donors that help us to do that. And just like Karen said, because our population is first generation, at risk, and also young, it takes more work to work with them. And you're also working with their family, or their friends, their boyfriends, their name it. You're working with more than one person, what they used to call the snowball effect. So that is my aim usually in this district, to try, and we've done Maricopa with our help from our donors and our friends, have aimed pretty close to that kind of formula, that one director and one staff person for every 150 extra staff person for 150 students.
Great. Thank you both very much for answering all these questions. We have several more, but we also are running close to our end of the program as a whole. So we'll just stop right here, but I'll make sure that we follow up with these questions that we didn't get a chance to answer through the webinar, but we'll make sure to touch base with everyone so that everyone has all the information they need. So thank you both very much for answering these questions, and I'll pass it back on to Andres to wrap things up.
Thanks a lot, Wu, and that was definitely very engaging. I'm sure we could have a full conversation far more than this 1 hour restriction. So if anyone wants to, please reach out directly. Again, here's the email address for both Karen and Stella. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to them. You can also reach out to us. I'll show my information shortly, but just to reiterate how you can get involved: explore our Growing Works database, nominate programs serving Latino students in higher education, and help us share, call for nominations, let others know that we're looking for great programs doing great work for Latino students. And if you have an opportunity while you're on our website, take a look at Excellencia in Action, our e-action network. Ugo actually is the constituency engagement manager, so he actually runs our e-action network. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to him. And again, for more information about examples or the database or any one of the programs in our database, or if you want to touch base with Stella or Karen, feel free to reach out to me as well. That's my email address and my number. And you can, if you're interested in submitting a profile for Examples of Excellencia, you can nominate your own program. We'll reach out to you, let you know how to submit your profile, and then please register for our webinar, Telling Your Program Success Story, Examples 2017. We'll be hosting that on February 23rd, and that'll go over our examples process in more detail. We'll discuss the different things that we look for in effective profiles, and just try to give you some tips and feedback for what works in submitting these practices for Examples of Excellencia. But yes, this concludes our webinar. The webinar is recorded. We'll have it available sometime this week. We'll also share a copy of the slides along with the webinar, so you'll have that. And again, thank you everyone for attending. I want to give a special thanks to Deborah for speaking with us earlier. Also, a special thanks to Stella and Karen for the work they're doing in their communities and for sharing all these amazing practices that they're doing right now with all of us. But thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.